got 3 weeks left, not including well, I won't be here next week, so I've got 3 meetings left. So I'm going to hit you with 3 jokes today. And that's just the way it's going to go, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, first up, where do you take someone that has been in a peekaboo accident? The ICU. That was my daughter's favorite one. So, yeah. All right, up next, did you hear about the explosion at the cheese factory? All that was left was debris. See, guest speaker's laughing, so at least I got that. All right. What's that? Well, that's the debris. You know what? To be honest, I debated that. Do I do like duh and then the cheese, or I don't know. All right. So the third one is a little cheeky, but I think it'll be fine. Cheeky. What did the blanket say when it fell off the bed? I have to be careful here because I think we're live streaming. Aw, sheet. Pretty good. Roy? So you haven't been here in a while, so you haven't had to tolerate this.
If you, a 6-month reprieve.
If you want, I can go back and send you all of them, all in one email. All right. So next up, we have 2 Paul Harris recognitions. So for those of you who don't know, Paul Harris is the founder of Rotary, and Rotary International has a international foundation. Similar to how we have a foundation, the International Foundation obviously is larger, has a broader breadth of what it contributes to around the world, including eradicating polio, among a lot of other things. So as you pay your dues to our club, a portion of your dues, $25 per quarter, goes to the International Foundation and is recorded on your behalf. We do have other activities during the year. We do foundation football, different ways to contribute. You can also contribute on your own anytime you like to the Rotary Foundation. All of those donations are added together and recorded and totaled. Each time a member reaches $1,000 in either donation or points, which I'll explain in a second, you are recognized as a Paul Harris Fellow. And each $1,000 you're recognized as a Paul Harris +1, +2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So points. Every dollar that you contribute, you receive a Paul Harris point, which you can actually then donate to other members, depending on their contribution to the club. There's different ways that happens. So today we're recognizing 2 of our members. So I would like Jimmy Fox and Gibb to come on up.
Wow.
You came in late. I would have given you a heads up, but I couldn't give you a heads up. So. Come on up.
There you go.
So, Gibb.
You do Gibb first.
All right, so first, thank you, Gibb. I'd like to recognize you with your Paul Harris +4. So that is a wonderful contribution you made to the foundation. And then, Jimmy, we've got your Paul Harris +1. So thank you so much for being part of the program. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, wait, come back up real quick. Sorry, Gibb. Jimmy, come back up. Let me get a picture real quick. Oh, okay. This way. All right.
All right. Get Andy's head out of there. Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Our guest speaker today is going to be Diane Austin from the Hope Exchange. And I'll go ahead and have you come right up and get started. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited about telling you all about the Hope Exchange and another ministry called The Yard. But first, I will tell you a little bit about myself so you can make some connections along the way to how I ended up where I am now. Before I start that, I want to introduce my wonderful husband of 29 years. Ben Austin, he's a retired professor in sociology from MTSU. And let me get started. I'll tell you about myself a little bit first. I have the great honor of being the child of an Air Force man. My dad was a career Air Force person, and so I had the privilege of traveling all around the world. I was in Belgium for 7 years of my young life. I was born in Germany. I lived in Colorado for a year, and my dad retired in Nashville, Tennessee. I attended Overton High School the last 2 years of high school. And my intention was to go to college right out of high school. But I landed this great gig. How many, I know I'm going to get a yes from this group. How many of you remember Opryland, USA? Right? Okay. So I am a singer. That's what I do. That's what I've loved to do all my life. So I landed a job at Opryland in the shows. I was a singer and a dancer for 6 years at Opryland, right out of high school. So I thought, nah, dancing and singing college. Dancing and singing. And I was like 19 years old. It was a no-brainer. So, but I know education is important, and I did get around to that later on. So I did the shows at Opryland for 6 years, and then I hooked up with these 3 other girls, and we formed a group called Girls Next Door. That is a group from the 1980s. There were 4 of us girls in this group. We actually toured for 10 years. We were very blessed. In the very beginning of our career, we were given a record deal. It was a Cinderella story. So we were with Atlantic Records and MTM Records, and we toured, like I said, for 10 years. And we had a great time. We fronted great people. We had great concerts. We made 3 videos, 3 albums, had a top 10 record and several top 20 records. And it was great fun until it wasn't. And you can imagine that when we all started having babies, it wasn't fun anymore. So we decided that that was more important than the career. So at that time, I thought this is a good time to go to college. I was in my late 30s, and I was an overachiever. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to get a degree in music education. So I ended up at MTSU, which is where I met Dr. Bonner. I'm so happy to see her today. She was, y'all, this woman can teach. She has a gift like no other. I was really privileged to have one class with her. And I also know her from Greenhouse Ministries, all right? So I got my degree at MTSU, and I was running a program there called the Music Preparatory Program, which is where I know Margaret from. It's like old home week here. So I taught her children there, and that program was done through the music department at MTSU. Kids from the community would come in and take lessons or have music readiness classes, and they would take from graduate students or other students at MTSU. I ran that program for several years, and now I've already got my degree in education. I'm still not teaching in a classroom yet, right? So then I opened up the Music Academy over on Clark. It was called the Academy of Music and Drama. And I did that for several years. And then I thought, I love teaching. And I thought, it's time to get into the classroom. My first teaching job was at Providence Christian Academy. And it was back when the barn was, the main building, okay? And I love teaching there so much. So this is one of the things that's gonna tie this whole thing together. I love teaching there. The children, every child there was brilliant. Their parents were brilliant. They were gifted in many, many, many things. And they were strong Christian children. They had everything they needed. And I thought, I'm not doing much here, and that's me. That was me. I thought, I need to be somewhere where I can really make a difference. That was selfish on my part. I needed that. So I went over to Rockvale Elementary, where I landed for 10 years. And I loved Rockvale. I learned more about cows and farm animals than you can imagine. But I did retire a little bit early from Rockvale, and 1 month after I retired, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. So if you've anybody in here, I'm sure there are several of you in here that have experienced the cancer journey. It changes your life, doesn't it? Changes your perspective. It makes big things little things. There are gifts if you look for them in having that kind of illness. And so following the cancer, I had what I call my old life crisis. I did have a midlife crisis, and I dare not tell you about it, but I had my old life crisis then, and I opened up a boutique of all things. My friends looked at me like, what are you opening up a boutique for? And I'm like, I don't know, it sounds fun. And it was fun until COVID hit. So that shut me down real fast, and that was great. That was okay. So coming up on the last 3 years, the girls and I got back together, the group that I sang with. Here we are in our 60s. thinking we're going to get out there and sing again. Well, what we really wanted to do was make a new EP or album, and something for our kids and our grandkids, and we did that. And then we started talking about, we should go back out on the road, and we should do women's ministry and all this stuff, and we, yeah. We tried that. It's hard, but again, we got into women's ministry is what we decided, where we landed. That's what we want to do, women's ministry. And again, I started feeling that tug, like, well, you're preaching to the choir when you're doing women's ministry. And that's okay, because women's ministry is important. It is very important for many, many reasons. But for me, I felt that tug again to get back out there and do something that meant more to me personally. And so I started my work with the homeless at Greenhouse Ministries. I volunteer, and I still do it 2 days a week as a peer counselor there. So that's like an intake counselor where they come in, and the homeless people, or today you see all kinds of people in there because there is so much challenge with the money these days. So, but I'd still do that 2 days a week. So at my church, this is going to bring me now to what I really want to talk about. At my church, we attend Stones River Church of Christ on Hamilton Drive. We have a ministry called The Yard. That's The Yard. It is literally a yard. It is outside. It's the property between the church building and a house that we own next door. So they started this ministry. I was not involved in it in the beginning. It was actually for, they had grants from the opioid epidemic. But they started feeding people, and that's what we're doing now. Every Thursday night, we set up a table and we have home-cooked meals. We pick them up at the library. We drop them off at the library. When they're finished, they can come. They can do their laundry. They can take a shower. They can get toiletries and hygiene products, tents, anything that's been donated to us, they can pick up that night. Also, I am a certified peer recovery specialist, so they can talk to me as well. And if you want to know more about that later, I'll tell you when I'm done. So I decided that from working at Greenhouse, where I was seeing a need for some other things, I decided to set up another side of the yard, which is called the Hope Exchange. Now, at the Hope Exchange, people can make an appointment with me, or sometimes I just show up at the library, and I'm just like, hey, anybody need this, or this, But normally what I do is I try to set them up with their food stamps, their Social Security, what else is there? I try to do disability, but Lord, y'all, that's so complicated. But I do try, and I do tell them, you have to have a disability to get disability. So, that's what makes it hard, is if somebody's wanting you to get it for them when they don't actually have a real disability. But I did. I started helping with teen care and all those things. Soon I'm going to be moving into classes where I'll be doing group classes about addiction, exiting homelessness, life skills, finding work, and many other things. I'm about to get certified in moral recognition therapy, and that'll be a whole nother great thing to offer these people. Now, as donations come in, we give out money. I mean, not money, but we pay for hotels, we pay for rent, we pay for utilities, depending on what their need is. So we do a lot of that as well. So today, if you take away one thing from listening to me today, I hope that it's a new or more informed perspective on our homeless community here in Murfreesboro. When we see a homeless person on the street, we tend to see what's right in front of us. We see they're dirty. We see they might be talking to themselves. We see that they might have a sign that says, I need food. We see all kinds of things like that. And we immediately, not everybody, but it happens, it's human nature. There is some kind of judgment that happens at that point. And so I encourage you, when you see a homeless person, to ask this question before you make any judgment. What kind of trauma did this person experience to get to where they are today on the streets with nothing? I can guarantee you that with 90% of the homeless community, there is some kind of serious trauma that they have experienced. And of course, homelessness within itself is a trauma. So, when they're out there, they're in what's called survival mode, and there is no reasoning. When you're in survival mode, you don't care about anything but food and protection and being safe. All the other stuff, they don't even want to think about it, because they just know they got to get their next meal. They've got to find a place to sleep, which 90% of the time is under a bridge or in a box somewhere. So what happens when they're in survival mode is they quit reasoning. They just tune out. And so it takes a while for them to get there, so it takes a while to get them out of that. There are a lot of things that cause somebody to become homelessness, but the people that are like me and you, that, I'm not saying you're all poor, but I'm saying many of us know what it means to work from paycheck to paycheck. And so what happens is, let's say they have an apartment. They're barely making it, but they're making it. Dad loses his job. He's out looking, he can't find anything. So then he sells the car. He needs money. He sells a car. So now he has no way to get to a job. All right? Then he's facing eviction. And then the next thing he knows, his family is out on the street. And that's how quick it happens to families. And believe me, they're out there. You don't see them as much because they tend to get more services, which is rightfully so when children are involved. So let's talk about who's out there. Well, obviously you see some people with mental illness. It is not the largest group of people. You see addicts, a lot of addicts. You see LGBTQ teens who have been kicked out of their homes. You see young girls who have been trafficked. You see sexual assault victims, domestic violence victims, people like me and you that just come on our hard luck. Those are the people that you see out there. So I want to tell you a quick story about a friend of mine. His name is Eugene, and I met Eugene through a friend of mine. His name is Lebo. And Lebo runs Bethesda House Ministries, if you've ever heard of that. And he has a lot of homes for men and women who are in transition. The jail called Lebo one night and said, Lebo, I got this guy here. He's going to be perfect for you. It's going to be perfect. Come and get him. And he's like, oh, yay. And he goes over there. And Eugene is a 63-year-old man who is shaking from alcohol withdrawal. He has an infection in his toe that is like nothing I have ever seen. And he can't read and he can't write. And so I tell Levi, I said, well, you know what, I'll come over and I'll take him over to St. Louis Clinic. Took him over to St. Louis Clinic. Well, that turned into a really great relationship because I had to change his I didn't have to, but I volunteered to change his bandages on his foot every other day. Wash his feet, wash his wound, all of that stuff. Had to do that every other day. And so we developed this wonderful relationship. Well, as you know, transitional houses are like $800 a month. They're not free. They have to pay $800 a month. That's very difficult, and it doesn't always work out very well. But at some point, because he was not paying at all, Lebo had to let him go, and I understood that. My heart was breaking because Eugene ended up under a bridge. And so I'm like, gosh, I'm so frustrated. And so I asked him, I said, I know, Eugene, you've got family. Where are they, He's like, I don't know. I think my brother's in Memphis. I don't know where my sisters are. I haven't seen anybody in 20 years. I said, well, you think your brother's in Memphis? I said, well, he said, yeah, but he's a registered sex offender. I said, well, let's find him. He knows where your sisters are. He knows where your sisters are. So he's like, okay, because you can find a registered sex offender because they're registered. So I found him online. And, of course, after I followed all the bad stuff that they had printed about this man, I got to a place where it said had his name, and it was affiliated with a church in Memphis. I thought, well, this is interesting. So I pulled that up, and this picture pops up, and I'm like, oh, Lord in heaven, that has got to be Eugene's brother, because he looked just like him. And so you know how they have the little contact me boxes and stuff, and I did that, and I said, hey, I'm in Murfreesboro, and I'm with a gentleman by the name of Eugene, and I think you're his brother. And I gave him my phone number. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. And his brother was so excited. Now, I'm excited, but I'm cautious, okay? And he was just praising God all over the place. He was so happy. And it turns out that his brother started a ministry while he was in prison, leading people to the Lord. And then when he got out of prison, he continued it. And he has a ministry it's a church. It's an 18 and up church in Memphis for people in need of redemption. And so we talked a little bit, and the next morning I picked up Eugene. I said, hey, Eugene, you want to talk to your brother? He's like, did you find my brother? I said, I did. And he's like, no way. Yes, way. So I call his brother. He picks up the phone. Y'all, the reunion was incredible. It was incredible. We were all crying like babies. His brother said to him, and every time I say this, I cry. He said, Eugene, all those horrible things that happened to us as children in Flint, Michigan, we need to bury those. That is not who we are. That is not what we are. And we're going to put them where they belong. And Eugene just burst into tears. Next, he gets the sisters on the phone. Oh, my Lord in heaven. It was unbelievable. So, long story short, the yard was able to pay for Eugene to get a bus ticket home. Everybody in the family is involved in caring for Eugene now. They got him a room in the church. It's a big church. They got him a room in the church, and he's got a bed, and he's got a kitchen, and he's got a shower, and they made him the head maintenance guy. His brother called me 2 nights ago, and he said, I've got 4 air conditioner units up there on top of this building. They hadn't worked for 6 months. He said, Eugene's already fixed 3 of them. I was like, does not surprise me. So my point of that story is that we never know. I learned later from his brother that they were all victims, all the siblings were victims of horrific sexual and physical and emotional abuse all their young lives. They're all doing the best they can. And these are stories that you hear all the time about homeless people. And that's why I'm asking you to kind of think about, we don't know what somebody's been through. We don't know why they land where they do. My method of helping the homeless is not for everyone, because I stay long term. I decided that, and actually my friend Lebo told me this, if you want to help them, you got to walk with them. And I said, and I learned very quickly, that is the truest thing. Now, all those other things that are going on out there are so important, and they are, like all the local ministries that feed, and Greenhouse, all those places. Journey Home is incredible. They're important, but in my position, I'm retired, I can do what I want to. I decided I'm gonna walk with them. And so people say to me, well, aren't you enabling them? Or aren't you doing what they could do for themselves? And I'm like, yeah, in the beginning, yes. Because all they know how to do is find food and shelter. That's all they have the energy for. So they need somebody to walk with them, to encourage them, and maybe, fill out a little bit of that form for them or something, And can I do that for years and years and years? No. There are people that will take advantage of you. I know that. And I know when they're doing it. And I call them on it, because they will do it, because they've learned that behavior, being homeless. So I'll end with this. We cannot give up on these people just because their lives are messy and they're complicated or they're hard to understand. Homelessness is not a character flaw. It's often that the end result of trauma, poverty, illness, addiction, loss, and a system that makes it very hard to climb out of once you've fallen into it. At the Yard, in the Way of Hope, we believe people are still worth fighting for. We believe stability can be rebuilt one step at a time. We believe a hot meal, a safe conversation, help filling out a form, a ride to an appointment, or someone simply saying, "I still see you," can become their first thread of hope. These are not those people. They're our neighbors. They're mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and veterans and all kinds of people that come from all walks of life. Some will take a little longer than others. I've got one that comes to mind right now that I've been with for several years, but he's making steps. Some will disappoint us. That's going to happen. Some will need more chances than we understand. But if we give up on them, we become the very hopelessness that we want to change. So what I'm asking of you today is don't look away and don't assume that someone else will do it. Partner with people around the community that do things to help. Pray for them. Volunteer for them. Support their work. And let's build something in Murfreesboro that says you are not disposable. Your story is not over, and hope is still possible. Thank you. Yeah, questions?
Anybody have any questions for Diane?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you all network in town, like the Barnabas Vision? Y'all get
Oh,
together once
yeah.
a
Well,
month?
we do that at Greenhouse a lot. We do a lot of networking. We have a book that's this thick of resources, and I borrow from theirs and everybody else's, and, yes, we network all the time. I would like to see more networking done, like who's gotten what services where, so we can spread it out more, so that not so many people are hit all at once, and also because that's accountability to prevent, people taking advantage of the system, which does happen. It does happen sometimes, but remember, there's always a reason for that. There's always a reason. Yes.
I've got two questions. First is, I know there's legislation out there that for people to get Medicaid benefits, they're gonna have to prove disability or have some kind of work. What's your opinion on that?
You really want to know?
Sure.
Okay.
And it's gonna fall into my next question.
Okay. I think that there are people that do take advantage, that there needs to be some kind of accountability. I do believe that. It's hard to figure that stuff out. My hardest, the disability not so much, because they've always been hard on disability anyway. I mean, if you're, you'll lose your disability. If you can work and you're not, and somebody tells on you, you're gonna lose your disability. But the one I'm thinking about really would be like food stamps. They're requiring that now with food stamps. And this is just my opinion, but when somebody is starving and is hungry, and they're not working, they don't know why they're not working. They don't know, Eugene applied for, I don't know, probably 80 jobs. My little guy was telling you about. We went down to the, Goodwill. They have an office there for jobs. And she applied for and nobody would hire him. No, age discrimination, and he couldn't read, he couldn't write. He needs food stamps, but how's he gonna get a job? So those are things that are hard. They're hard. What was your second question?
Second question is, 25, 30 years ago, you saw someone homeless and you needed help in the yard. You'd say, hey, I'll pay you, well, back then, $5 an hour. But, if I saw somebody now and I need my porch power wash, I'd love to go, I need 5 hours of work, I'll pay you $20. But then my judgment and self-preservation comes in and goes, well, they get on my property and go, oh, I hurt my back. and now I'm gonna sue you. Or I need to use your bathroom, now I've gotta let them in my house. How do you help without exposing yourself to gross liability?
You're asking the wrong person.
Because
That's a great question.
here's my
I
internal,
know.
my
Understand.
internal judgmental is I offered that and they'll go, no, there's no way I wanna work, I'm gonna make more money on the corner.
Yeah.
My friend, one of her friends said she's in Nashville and drove by a homeless person. She'd been in the grocery store and she didn't have any money. She handed him a bag of oranges. And she drove away and tore it open and threw one at her. So you're like,
Yeah.
okay, how does
But
this work?
again, you don't know
Yeah,
what's going on with that person.
absolutely.
Do they have schizophrenia? They might think you're the FBI. You might have got an orange thrown at you because they think you're the FBI. I'm not kidding though. You know, those things do happen. And you're right. That's hard. That's hard stuff. Ben and I are probably, we have very good discernment on when to not allow that and when to allow that. But we've had several people in our home, we've had thieves in our home, but we've known them a long time, and they haven't been charged with any of that in years. But, I think because we're so involved with them and helping them that they wouldn't steal from us, they just wouldn't. But it does happen. And a lot of times if they steal, they're gonna go sell it and get something to eat. If they're an alcoholic, they're gonna sell it and go get a drink. Or, you know, those things are gonna happen. You know, the only thing I can say is trust your instincts, you know, and if they get weird or they get ugly or whatever, just let it go. You know, just, and that's hard, you know, when people are being abusive to you that way.
No, I've got a wife like that, so I'm.
And it's gonna be worse tonight.
My wife asked the first question.
Anybody else have any questions?
Wow,
Yes,
that's a
ma'am.
turn.
So this is more of a systemic question, so you may not have an answer.
I bet my husband, the sociologist, does.
So what is it that the Hope Exchange is kind of doing as far as I'm looking for jobs, but that means I have to have a phone number, that means I have to have an address, that means I have to have a bank account, that means I have to, it's not as easy as just hiring or applying and getting a job when I have to have all of these other systems and structures set in place. And I guess that's, you kind of said we work with them for however long they need it.
We do.
But what does that process kind of look like when there are so many barriers to just getting that job?
That's hard. Well, let's talk about phones. First of all, if you're getting them food stamps, you can get them a phone. Okay? So that's one of the first things I do because they, you know, when I hear people say, well, they can afford a phone, I'm like, they're not paying for it. They're not paying for it. They got the phone so they can, you know, keep in touch with their family, or they can get job notices, and also we can get free phones through food stamps. So, that's good. What was the other one? There was something else.
Address.
Address, we let them use our church address. So, yeah, their mail comes to me and I just sort it out and give it to them, you know, when they show up on Thursday night. So addresses are a real problem, you know, and a lot of them don't know what to do about that, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what was it? There's something else.
It was phones, address, and bank account.
Oh, bank account. Well, I think right now the safest thing for them is if they have a phone to get a Chime account, something like that, because that gives you can build up your credit on that. You can receive and exchange funds with the Chime account, and you know, if you go into a bank and you open up an account, it's exactly the same thing. You know, they're intimidated by the banks and things, so Chime is very.
We're not that
So
scared.
there's a lot of systemic things that are going on.
Some of us are scared.
For sure. Yes, sir.
Do you have anyone from your organization that sits on the COC, Continuum of Care Board? Like, there needs to be someone that, I know membership is open currently. I sit on the board there. And so I know as far as looking at coordinated entry and how these individuals come in and they're getting these resources, I think as we talk about all the different organizations that are here currently, they are seeking out individuals to be part of this board. So that's where all the resources can actually come together. So
I would be interested in that myself, for
yeah,
sure, absolutely.
Absolutely, and I'll give you the information. I'm gonna give you one of my cards now, but I'm getting ready to go get on a call now.
Okay, tell them I'm in.
Yes. Yeah, you have a card?
I do, I thought I'd have to, oh no, I'm alone in the car, but
Okay.
if you gotta leave quick,
Uh,
but I'll send it to you.
yes,
Sure, you got on here?
yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
good, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm done.
I'm Gary. Nice to meet you.
Anybody else?
You obviously have had a lot of experience in dealing with the homeless, and you have built up a sense of what things need to be done first, second, third, fourth. Have you ever thought about putting that to paper and putting and having it available and making it available then, like us? Now, this is what you're talking about. Some people, we may think, we'll call you, and then, but I'm just thinking that there's some basic things that we get involved with.
That is a great idea, absolutely. And I have started about 10 books already, but
You don't need a book. You
I
need
know,
one
you
page.
don't want a book, it's gonna be a book.
Eventually a book, but.
You just want
one thing-
resources, yes.
Resources, like what to do, maybe some situational awareness.
Absolutely.
And so that somebody like us, if we choose to, when we see somebody we think, gee, that looks like they may need some help. I couldn't. Right now, I don't have the information, knowledge.
Right.
I may have the willingness. Once you have the information and some knowledge, you might make that first step.
Absolutely. And that's what holds people back the most is that, I use the word fear, but it's not like they're afraid. It's more like, it's not like they're afraid of the people or afraid of doing things. It's of the unexpected. Like, what can I expect will happen when this happens? You know, what can I do when I'm approached this way? Is that what you're saying? Those kind of things?
Basically, that
Yeah,
way, just
that's a great
a
idea.
guidebook, a
Yeah.
guide sheet,
Yeah,
fly one page.
that's a great idea. I'm gonna do that.
And
You
I
know,
think that would then,
First step.
you could put it on digitally, you could put it on, you could send it out, and people could have it. I'm just suggesting that to me, you're getting your experience out to people who might be willing to start the first step.
Right. That is an incredible idea. I will do that, and I didn't bring my, I should have done a better thing. But, I do have what I use for my phone number. Now, there are select few that have my personal phone. And that's enough. I got a girl named Jerry calls me 12 times a day. I said, Jerry, you are allowed one call a day. Your social security will be here in 2 months. Every day, where's my check? You know, and I love her, and I hate it for her because she lost. Jerry is a girl who is probably has the mentality of a 12 to 14-year-old. And she went to one of somewhere around here with her boyfriend, and they figured out that they were living with his mother. And they told her, you are going to burn in hell if you don't get married. So, it scared her. She can't process that. All she knows is she's going to burn in hell. And she takes it quite literally. And they are married the next week. Well, guess what happens? She lost every bit of her money. All of her benefits were gone. Now, if he had been on benefits, which he should be, because he's as bad as she is, okay? He should be, and he's next. I'm gonna give him next. But if they both were on it, they could have kept it. But the fact that there was just her, and she's like, that ain't right. And she said, oh, and I thought and of course the first thing she said was, am I going to burn in hell? And I said, no, you know, and so you know, those things happen, and it's just terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, so I do have a phone number. I have a Google phone line that I use.
interest of time, I'll be short. What is your biggest issue with them regarding healthcare and them seeking out? You talked about TennCare. Are there any healthcare organizations in town that offer free care for them?
Well, I mean, you can go to St. Louis Clinic and they have a form that you can fill out and almost always I have to go with them because they don't even know what to put on. Because you have to write and write and write and write and write to get it. You have to tell them everything. And you can get like maybe a $5 credit. St. Louis is probably about that. But the thing is they should all be on TennCare. But they don't even, some of them don't even know that. That's a, what's TennCare? And I'm like, you know.
So what do you need in order to help bridge that gap so they can have the spin-offs? And I know some of it is, they may not have the IQ or whatever, depending on what has happened, but for those who do, and you may not have the answer now, but.
I think the answer is places like us and Greenhouse. And now you can get a caseworker at Journey. But the thing is, a lot of them they don't want a caseworker. They just want, you know, it scares them. There's a lot of, I don't know. I just don't know. If you come up with that, because it's really, it's difficult because I would say a lot of them have TennCare. And I will tell you, when they go to the emergency room and they don't have insurance, they most definitely are not treated the same. And if they're African American, there's a whole nother level of stuff. Now, sometimes it's not the doctors or the nurses. Sometimes it's just the system, okay? Because I've had one guy that I took in there twice, he was bleeding to death and nobody figured it out. Until he bled all over the room, you know? And so, and then, you know, he got a lot of really good care, but it's not that these doctors and these people are bad people. It's just they see us so much. And my question is, why aren't we taking care of these people? As a society, why are we not, you know, because we hear a lot of conversations about let the churches, let the people take care of the poor and the this and that. Well, yes, but there's not enough of us, you know, there's just not enough. And so I would love to see this influx of people who are willing to just, you know, just do it. But you know, I'm a diehard. And I do this a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Andre, if you'll go real quick.